everybody. Welcome to my garden. I share a lot of things on my Instagram stories about my garden, and several people have asked questions about it, and it's kind of fun to share with you. So I'm just going to take you through a walk. Every time I'm going to start a video or think I'm going to do one for YouTube, it like gets windy and then I don't, and so then that feeds into my procrastination. And today I decided I'm just going to start talking and show you my garden. It's autumn here, and so things are not looking so great, but what's fun about what I like about gardening is that I'm forever changing. I'm forever moving things, digging things up, moving them around. Sometimes when I see some fun things that I'm going to put in there, like this wild grass, the native to Minnesota, it starts to it reseeds itself, and it starts to take over this area, and when it starts to invade my hostas, then we're in serious trouble, and so they start getting dug out. I have also been digging out some, I think they're called lilies type, I'm not sure what kind of lilies, but they are also native, and they start to take over as well, and so then they get the chopping block, and I dig them out, and you have to get deep enough to get the bulbs out, which I don't have any dug out right now, but anyway, I also had a lot of deer damage, slug damage. Slugs are like little snails and they chew on the leaves. Let's see if I can find some. Here is a hosta that had deer damage this spring, and you can see here where it's been chewed off, and these leaves actually are much smaller than they would normally be, but look at how it produced. The flowers are about done, and maybe got nipped with frost last night, but yeah, they came back. They came back, and they didn't quit for the summer. They came back and they got new leaves. Here's some more deer damage. I'll just show you some stuff that, I feel like these poor hostas have had a struggle this summer, and yet look at the new little leaves. It never gave up. It just never gave up, and it's just so cool about the garden. It's really cool things about the garden. But earlier this summer, when I was digging out an invasive, I would call it invasive natural, what would you call it? Wildflower type thing called lily of the valley. And I was digging it out this spring. And here's a clip of it. See how the leaves look similar to the hosta leaves I was showing you. Like here's a hosta leaf. And what was happening is that these lily of the valley were starting to get like root. They grow their roots under the ground, and they were starting to root themselves right into the clump of hostas. And I didn't recognize it right away. I didn't recognize that it was lily of the valley that had snuck its way in to the hosta. And it got me thinking about how weeds, invasive things, can weasel their way into our life without even realizing it. I've been a little bit more aware about that these days because I don't particularly like to watch any news, anything anymore, because I truly do not trust the sources. I don't trust even what they're showing us. Just because we see it on TV doesn't make it true or right or actually what's going on. Since we do know, I don't know, I still watch movies and things, and we know they can make things look really, really real. And what appears to be real could be an invader. It could be not true. What appeared to be true, a true hosta, was actually the invasive plant that I'm trying to get rid of. That got me thinking about that. And like, if we allow weeds into our life. So what I use to get the weeds and get the bulbs that I don't want anymore in the garden is I use a shovel. And here I am, still learning. A shovel, and you dig it, and then like hands and knees, you get in there and you make sure you get all the roots out of there. The roots, and they kind of wiggle their way through and intertwine with the hosta root system. And as I was like pulling them apart, I'm thinking, this is intentional for me to get the roots out, And this is something that we must do in our lives. We must be intentional about, first of all, recognizing that there are weeds. Recognizing that I would call, and I'm going to start talking about mind stuff, but thought life that can intertwine and get into your thinking, into your life, and weasel their way in without you even recognizing them. So I just wanted to give you that analogy of how we must, number one, be aware that there's been an invader into our thought life, into our lives, into our living room, via whatever, social media, on our phone as we scroll through things, and the messages that are getting sent to us, and start paying attention and being aware. And then admit that, once you evaluate and discern, then admit that, oh, wow, here is a root system of lies and deception, and wow, where did that thought come from? I don't know if that's really true. And then adjust, then like the third thing would be adjust and stop and perhaps recognize that weed, pull that out, get it out of there, get it out of the garden, get it out of your life. Don't watch that particular thing or scroll on your media or whatever, but recognize it and get it out of there. Pull it out. Get that stuff. Get that invasive negativity, invasive condemning thoughts and condemning news feed or whatever it is that's invaded your garden of your mind and your life. So anyway, this is going to be my project for later. And while I'm pulling the roots of the weeds out, I'll be placing in the good things that are good and pure and right and true into my thoughts. So hope this encourages you. Think about what weeds you've let in and start pulling them out by the root, the entire root. Chat later. Thank you for coming.